It's time for the Rick Smith Show. Now, here is the voice of the working class, Rick Smith.
Welcome, brothers, sisters, working class heroes. This is the Rick Smith Show. Thanks so much for being here today on the big program. Lots to get to. Lots to talk about. Biden today. Biden the Builder. Yep, Joe Biden the Builder. Call him whatever you want. Hard Hat Joe, Jelly Bucket Joe. Getting stuff done. Today announced $42 billion investment in high-speed internet. For those of us who live in rural America, music to the ears. This is one of those things you go, I need it badly, and rural America does. Inner cities need it, absolutely. But to bring us into the 21st century, this is an investment that should have happened, I don't know, 10 years ago. And the thing that gets me, and this is another one of those moments where you go, why has it taken so long? Why has it taken so long to invest in the future of this country? Because remember, we've got a Republican Party who tells us that they believe in America first. So why haven't we invested heavily in America first? Why haven't we spent the money that's desperately needed? Oh, that's right. We had to give it away to rich people. We had to ensure that tax breaks for corporate America were firmly in place. We had to make sure the Elon Musks and the Zuckerbergs and the Gateses and our billionaire class, we had to make sure that they had a little extra cheese on their Whopper, a little more on the side. They're 15 generations down the road, their kids are still not going to have to work. And what did we do for that? We have forgone the investments that we need. So today, Joe says $42 billion in expanding high-speed internet and a push to get, finally, millions of people connected with modern day internet. Now look at myself here. I live in a rural community. I've got one choice and it's a business internet that I have to use for our business, and it's $400 a month. Nowhere in the world do they pay the kind of rates that we pay. And I know, but Rick, we're America. We're number one. Yeah, we are. In this vein, we are number one because we're getting gouged badly. Because we've been so dependent on corporate America to do the things that we need. And I look at, in this moment, internet is a utility and should be regulated as such, should be invested as such, should be handled as such, but we're not going to do that. Because our Republican friends, dead set against it. And it got me thinking today, because I was talking about this the other day, that, in the context of the whole Joe Rogan dust up with RFK Jr. and Professor Peter Hotez. And I said something that look, you can't argue with a destroyer. You can't debate a destroyer. You can't have a conversation with a destroyer, because all they have in their mind is tearing things apart. And my grandfather always said, any idiot with a hammer can tear down a house. It takes a skilled craftsman to build one. And this is where we are in this moment. We've got a bunch of idiots running around with hammers with Republican behind their name. And we got Biden and the Democrats who are rebuilding, are pushing, I argue skillfully, in helping us rebuild this country. Now, I say all the time, we got to take off the red hat and the blue hat, get a hard hat, and rebuild this country like they did in Philly. Got that bridge up in under 2 weeks. We have the ability when we want to, when we're not stuck at, one person wants to get something done, the other person's destroying it. And I started thinking about this today because the Republicans have been destroyers for a very long time. It's been all about how do we destroy education? How do we destroy healthcare access for working families? How do we, you name it, go after the military? Do you know right now, this is mind-blowing to me. Absolutely mind-blowing. And again, remember, our Republican friends are supposed to be the party of the military, party of strong national defense. And yet, for the first time in 164 years, the Marine Corps is going to be led by an acting commandant. Because you've got the dumbest guy in the Senate, Tommy Tuberville, holding everything up. Why? Destroyer. He has no plans, no idea, no vision, no policy chops to move us forward. It's all about, I want my way. It's all about, we're going to show you, fill in the blank of idiotic reason why. Stop and think about where we are globally in this moment. And to have a break in command, to have a scenario like this in our military makes us look weak. Makes us look ineffective. Now look, again, we can have our disagreements, but there are places where you argue and there are places where you don't. And this is one of these moments. I was thinking about the old labor frame, which side are you on? This is this moment as well. The sides are very clear. Builder, destroyer. Which side are you on? And it's simple. It goes back to being a child. When you were a kid and your parents took you to the beach, did you meticulously build your sandcastle with your bucket and shovel? Did you make little pathways and little buildings and spend the day building something on the beach? Or were you that snotty little brat that came along afterwards and kicked everything over? Well, right now we've got two choices. Builder, Joe the Builder, Democrats the Builder, and snotty little Republican kid who's destroying things. Those are our choices. Do I like it? No, don't like it at all. Wish I didn't think this. Wish it didn't play out in policy. Wish it didn't play out in what they're actually doing. And I've said before, Republicans hate working people. Look at what they do. It comes back to what you do. And at no point have the Republicans, while controlling the House, have had anything positive. There's nothing. Well, that's not true. That's not entirely true. They have a Republican Study Committee report that says they want to destroy Social Security, that says they want to destroy Medicare. They want to destroy the social safety net. They want to destroy our ability to regulate ourselves. You look at the states of Texas, the Death Star bill, destroying local communities' ability to regulate their own communities, passing, time. It's going to get hot. Passing breaks, mandatory breaks for heat exposure. No, can't do that because we want dead workers. Now, they don't say that explicitly, but the policies, what does it get us? Well, within days of them passing the Death Star bill, what happened? You had a UPS, a postal worker, USPS worker, who died on the job from heat exposure. It's what they do, folks. And this is the frustrating part of all this. Now, the good thing, there's a positive here. Biden's approval rating has popped up a little bit. He's up to 43%, highest it's been since last August, because he's getting stuff done. And I think we're going to start seeing more and more and more of this. And look, the administration has got to do more of touting their own horn. They got to be out there saying, look, we're doing this stuff. So today when he tweeted out infrastructure, education, healthcare, infrastructure is, internet is infrastructure. You go, yeah, it's what we need to do. From Alaska to Appalachia, he says every community will have what they need to connect folks to reliable high-speed internet by 2030. That kind of investment, that kind of vision coming from one side. I know, Rick, it was a bipartisan. What do you get? You had a handful of Republicans came along? All of them go back to their districts and take credit for it, though, which is always very comical to me. So for me, when I look at this, it's simple. Which side are you on? You on the side of the people who are saying, look, there's a future. We can move forward as a country. We can build great things. We can do good things. Or the side that it's all about the no. It's all about kicking and screaming and no, and throwing tantrums and getting attention. For me, it's that simple. And I guess, again, I go back to my high school government teacher. Government decides who gets what. Right now, we've got Builder Joe. Builder Joe is moving us towards high-speed internet by 2030, putting the money where his mouth is. And that's going to be good for the country. When I've had guests in the past come on and say, when Biden's term is over, history will look back at him as one of the best presidents. He's not the best speaker. He's not going to go out and wow you with his oration skills. But the policies that they're moving, it's good stuff. And it's going to help us in the future. Now, all the Republicans all they got is tearing things down. All they got is destroying. They got a hammer. They're a bull in a china shop with a hammer between their nostrils. And all it's about is stomping and smashing. So Republican friends, take your party back to sane. Bring them along, because there aren't Republican or Democratic roads and bridges. It's not going to be a Democratic internet. It's going to be internet of, for, and by us. And it's about time. But I want to hear your thoughts. Do we need these investments? And why is it taking so long? Email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com. Going to take a quick break. Right back. Stick around. You're listening to The Rick Smith Show.
From the steel mills of Pennsylvania, to the auto factories of Michigan, to the modern makers movement, manufacturing makes our nation great. I'm Scott Paul, President of the Alliance for American Manufacturing. We bring business and labor together to advocate for policies that everyone can agree on. Together, we can strengthen manufacturing and create good-paying American jobs. Help us keep it made in America.
The old factory towns in America's heartland have been taking a beating. Thing is, though, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. After years of politicians talking about it, they finally passed a big new infrastructure package to rebuild roads and bridges, fix drinking water systems, and make the energy grid more secure. We're finally turning things around after 40 years of screwing over working people. But will we keep moving in the right direction? That's our choice as Americans.
We are AFGE, the American Federation of Government Employees. We represent 700,000 federal and D.C. government workers who are the vital threads of the fabric of American life. We support our nation's military. We take care of our nation's veterans. We protect our nation's borders. We respond to our nation's crises and natural disasters. We provide services to our nation's seniors. The American Federation of Government Employees. We work for America.
It takes a lot to raise a family. A good job, a good salary, and some patience. A lot of people my age are drowning in college debt, but I chose a different path. I'm a member of the IBEW, the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. I work hard for my job, and I love what I do. I had a lot of choices for my future, but I made the best choice for my family. IBEW, the right choice.
So you look at it, the reality, the destroyers, they destroyed Roe. They got their Supreme Court to destroy Roe versus Wade. Now chaos. The country, women in this country are in chaos. And understand, Griswold's next. They're going to come after contraception. No, Rick, they would never do that. Didn't you hear what they said? They said they wouldn't. They said, no, that's decided law. They would never come after Griswold or Loving or any of those, or Bergefeld or any of. No, they wouldn't do that. Of course not. Except you look at Wisconsin, you got a state representative there, Chuck Wigars. Chuck went on a rant about how contraception leads to infidelity and STDs. Yeah, because it's those women folk they're dirty. They're dirty. It's not him. It's not where he fell with his little thingy. No, none of that. It's the women folk problem. And these people are in our government. In fact, if you saw over the weekend the Faith and Freedom Coalition powwow, a bunch of people wanting to do just this: control people. Go after the women folk. They don't need no contraception. Back in the kitchen, barefoot pregnant, pumping out cheap labor. And, the question is, and I keep coming back to this, and I keep asking the question, how much worse do Republicans want to make it? How much more are they willing to destroy? How much of the house are they going to tear down? How far to the ground are you willing to let them destroy this country with their idiocy? This is the frustrating part in all of this. There is no policy that Republicans are looking for right now that's going to help this country. Everything that they are pushing is pain, suffering, struggle. And again, this comes back to my belief that the leaders, the religion folks, the faith and freedom people, the fire and brimstone folks want that kind of misery. They want that kind of suffering, especially for poor working people, because you're not chosen. And I look at this latest bit that's coming around. Republicans are pushing heavy to restart the student loan repayment stuff. During the pandemic, people who had student loans, we paused the student loans. Biden's trying to push this off as long as possible. And understand, the economists that are weighing in on this are saying, look, if we restart these loan payments, the pressure on consumers is going to be so great that we're probably going to throw ourselves into a recession. The latest polling said that about a third of borrowers, they're not going to be able to make the payments. So now you're going to have chaos. You're going to have all kinds of stuff going on. Where's the help? Because we now know during the pandemic, people who took out student loans, they probably went further into debt. So working families are deeper in debt than they were, just trying to make ends meet. Inflation's been through the roof. The Republican plan for inflation has always been cause a recession, blame it on Joe Biden. When we could do smart things. This is my problem with where we are as a country. We're being pushed into polar opposites and not coming to any reasonable ideas. The student loan situation is simple to me. It is a simple fix. The federal government could buy up all the student loans at a very low rate. They could buy them up. They could charge 0.5% interest, which is what would cover the cost of administering them. And people would just pay back what they borrowed. Not a profit motive, not making bankers rich, not making these scheme student loan groups wealthier than they can imagine, but saying, look, we need an educated workforce. We need people who are able to name it. Doctors, lawyers, name it. Engineers, phlebotomists, name it. We need an educated populace. They were forced to take out these loans to get this education. They should pay it back. And I've never said anything different. I've never said that we should forgive it. I've never been on the forgiveness bandwagon. I've always said, look, they should pay it back. but they should pay back what they borrowed, not with a gazillion dollars in interest. And as I've talked about before, I know people who have got massive student loan debts, and these for-profit entities are gouging their eyes out. Every time they lose a job and they have to stop, the interest doesn't stop. The penalties don't stop. It's all about the profit. It's all about, I was thinking about this today. This idea that there was a movie a number of years ago on credit cards, and the CEO of one of the credit card companies was asked why they give credit cards to people who have filed bankruptcy after the bankruptcy discharge. So like if someone ran up $70,000 worth of credit card bills and the bankruptcy judge wipes it out, the credit card company, they want to be the first one to get that person a credit card, because they know with our law that you can't file bankruptcy again for X amount of years. So they know if they get in first, they're going to be top of the list to get repaid. But the guy said, look, these are people who have a taste for credit. These are people who we know are used to being in debt. This is what the student loan situation has created in this country. A bunch of people who are used to being in debt. They were told as 17-year-olds that the only way that they're going to be able to get into the middle class is to take out a massive amount of debt, more debt than they could possibly imagine at 17 years old, to go to college and get this opportunity. And look, college graduates do better than non-college graduates. That's right on the table. But what we've done is we've trained a generation to be willing to be in debt. We've trained a generation to not worry about, hey, I've got $100,000 in student loan debt. What's $30,000 for a car? What's $20,000 on a credit card? You get this kind of, as that guy said, a taste for credit, and you're willing to, just make payments because you never think you're getting out from under it. This is what we've done to a couple of generations. Like, I grew up with the mindset of don't go in debt, pay things off, don't be long-term debt. Make sure that you're fiscally in a sound spot. Have savings for emergencies in the future. We've trained a generation that's old school thinking. It's okay to be in massive amounts of debt, and I think that's wrong. And now, are we surprised that during the pandemic you had people taking on more debt? Are you surprised that a third of the people aren't going to be able to make payments? So immediately you're going to have a ton of money pulled out of the consumer market, which means mom and pops are going to suffer first. The big box retailers down the road. But mom and pop suffers first. The small diners, you name the local small stuff, they're hurt first. And that's how the economy will slow, and we're going to get nailed. And this will make our destroyer Republican friends very happy, because they get the recession they've been all tingly in the panties over for a very long time, so they can put it on Joe Biden, and they get to punish people. Because I still come back to the cruelty is the point. What they do is about inflicting suffering. And I know that's hard to hear, because I don't want to believe it either, but I look at what they do. And I wish someone would say, no, Rick, this is why they do it. And I know, pull yourself up by your bootstraps and all that rhetorical nonsense that, sorry, not buying. And hasn't worked. This, for me, is why I'm such a supporter of Joe Biden's. Doing the work, moving us forward with ideas and plans. Now, we can debate those ideas and plans. I talk about this all the time with my friend Joe Walsh. We disagree policy-wise on just about everything. But the idea of saving democracy is something we agree on. We look forward to the day when we can argue about policy. The question becomes, how long is it going to take us to wake up? I want to hear your thoughts. Email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com. If you miss any portion of the program, grab the podcast. Wherever you find your favorite podcast, you'll find ours. Back after this.
I am a member of the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. I feel very connected to my West Virginian roots in being part of a union. We've always been known to generate energy here. Renewable energy would definitely help generate jobs and get people back to work. If we don't start bringing in more jobs, more and more people are going to leave. Solar, wind, hydro, these can help reinvigorate West Virginia's economy. It's time to give West Virginia a chance.
I've been driving buses for 5 years, and my day-to-day routine is I wake up a little earlier than most people. I get on a bus, I go out, I pick up some students and make sure they get to school nice and safe. Here in Fairbanks, Alaska, that can be a challenge because of the winter weather and the icy roads. But I love the job. So the Teamsters are great. They provide us a lot of protections. They've always taken care of their people, made sure that our jobs were secure. We didn't have to worry about whether or not we'd have a job from day to day.
And that's amazing because before we'd be working 4, 6, 8 hours a day and only earning minimum wage was real difficult to make a living. And the Teamsters pushed a lot so we make something we can live off of and not have to have a second job. What absolutely gives me peace of mind. The union membership allows me to focus on this job without having to worry about whether or not my family is going to be taken care of. I'm Andrew Case, and I'm proud to be Teamsters Local 959.
Before we close the program, we want to take a moment to thank our viewers and to share a little bit about why we do what we do. At the Rick Smith Show, we believe that media today is almost entirely controlled by corporate greed. So we have now 24-hour news channels. But instead of 24 hours of news, what we get is 1 hour repeated 24 times, and with tons of commercials creating obscene amounts of profits. Information once presented as a public service has now become a private commodity. So when lies make money, lies are what we get. We get a corporate-controlled rage machine feeding us anger and hate, trying to convince us that our problems are right, left, or red, blue, when they are and always have been up, down, the wealthiest 1% versus the rest of us. Our goal is to be an alternative to that machine, not as a news show with a fancy journalist out front, but as a talk show run by a union truck driver and a team of working class heroes just like you. Everything we do, both what we get right and what we get wrong, is dedicated to advancing the interests of America's working families. No corporate ad buys, no think tanks, no focus groups, no talking points. We are media by working people for working people. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you back here next time.